I'm Mark.
I'm Casey.
And I'm Patrick.
And today we're going to talk a little bit about EV adoption and where we're getting to by 2030. But first, let's roll that title.
You're watching the TTL Express! I can't hear Mark.
Casey? Oh, am I not speaking?
Now you are.
Okay. Welcome, everyone.
Heard you watching the TTL
Thanks for
Express.
coming to the show. We've got my friends and co-hosts Patrick and Casey with me today, and we're going to talk a little bit about expectations for EV adoption within the U.S. specifically. And
Okay, because I was going to say by 2030, Norway and Ethiopia will have been 5 years in to their EV only lifestyle.
Yeah, this one is not as advanced as Norway and Ethiopia. This, of course, is the U.S. numbers, and this particular article from Tesserati looked at where we're going to be by 2030, which the mandate that we have in place, or the goal that we have in place, is to get to 50% adoption rate. And this article indicates that we're still on pace at this point to reach 50% by the year 2030. If things continue the way they are operating now. And of course, we were talking about this before the show started. The only thing that we know here in North America is that change is constant. So we're constantly making changes and modifications to not only administrations and rules, but of course, how many EVs are being implemented, how many are coming to market, how many being sold. All sorts of things are in the mix here. There's a lot of balls in the air. We're not really sure. But if things stay as they are, wouldn't it be nice to get to 50% adoption by 2030, which of course is only 6 years from today? Actually 5.5 years. So
I will caution that I don't think that we'll be as bad as New Zealand should we have an administrative change. They pretty much stalled. I don't think that, because there's, these are good cars, and like I keep telling folks, is doing the green thing also can either save or make you green. So our folks will continue to do it at some level versus the near standstill that we saw down under. And
right.
I know they probably don't like that. I just used the Australian reference for them.
They are still south of the equator, so I'll allow it.
So we shared this screenshot of the article with this graph that they've provided us with. And you can see the different years in colors across the top. And of course, you can see the curve of EV adoption starting from a low, 10% or so back in 2023. And with its curve up, again, in this sweet spot in the gray area, that's showing the 2030 timeframe, and how the model is showing that there's a number of ways to get this to this path. But of course, there's some different variations as well. So it's subjective to what actually happens. But at this point, based on the information collected to this date, it looks like we're still on track to hit some of these goals or targets in 2030.
Yes. So just looking at this, the first thing that comes to mind is that it is the sigmoid curve. It's the S curve that you expect for technology adoption. And so a lot of times when you see projections, they're linear. And so you're like, okay, the person doing this just doesn't understand how things really get adopted, or economies of scale, or any of the it's easy to think linearly. That's how most people think. So just at a first blush, like, okay, they've got that right. They might actually have some credibility. And then the other thing that's kind of cool here is they have, 5 projections and how they've updated them over time. and you can see that there's some pretty big changes. Their first 2018, they were predicting in 2030 it would only be 21%, and they've had it as high last year at 54%. So they're updating it as they go with new information, and even if the thing that they talk about here in this article that I thought was cool was that there have been a lot of projections for 2024 that were saying sales are going to tank and 2024 is going to be down from 2023. And when you do projections like this, you draw smooth curves, but reality is never a smooth curve. There are things that happen: interest rate changes, wars, availability of parts or resources, strikes, whatever.
Pandemics.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because I mean, yeah, the first prediction in 2018, the world changed after that.
Yep, absolutely.
Mm-hmm. So this is pretty cool to see, and I think they are on the right track.
You can see in the graph here that the dotted yellow line is this year. So this is the updated, and the dot here is to indicate where we're sitting, or where we will sit at the beginning of 2023, based on the curvature of this line. But as Patrick mentioned, 2018 and 2020, the thought was it was going to be going slower. But once we got to 2021, 22, and 23, it progressively got better. And then in 2024, we took a little bit of a dip back, but it almost evens out. It's still not as optimistic as 2022 or 2023's prediction, but it's close.
Right. And then I want to also comment, Casey, you mentioned if we have a new administration come in for our political leadership, and that's going to happen, but or not. And it should not make a huge difference to EVs. We're at a point now where we have enough battery factories and the vehicles are performing well. We have charging networks that are in place. It's got all the groundwork that it needs to be successful on its own. So if we do have an administrative change, I'm hoping it has little to no impact on the actual adoption of EVs.
You will be looking at almost $10,000 in price difference for certain income brackets, and up to $5,000 for another set of income brackets for used EVs. So, I mean, there could be a slight cooling, but like you said, if you were already on this track, it just makes too much sense to keep going that way.
Yeah, I'm not saying there'll be no impact, but in the big scheme of things, by the time it's 2040, it won't make that big of a difference who was in the White House for those 4 years. From that,
but I will say though, if you see it go a certain way and you're already on the fence, just make sure you get it done before December 31st, just in case.
Good advice.
The last administration, if they become the next administration, found ways to move money that was supposedly locked in place, and that's always fun.
Yeah.
Speak from experience on that one.
But it's something that it's not surprising that, of course, the playing field moves. We saw those 5 lines that were slightly different at different points of time. But as the years go beyond 2024, we go to 25, 26, 27. Of course, they're going to converge even more on the upper side, getting close to that 2030 mark. But I really hope that there is some commonality in administrations going forward, that we can at least keep the lines relatively on the projections they're on, because having society here in North America being able to achieve a 50% in about 6 years, I think would be a huge win for the environment. That we could say we've eliminated the purchase of 50% of ICE vehicles by the time 2030 arrives. I think that would be a huge win for the environment and for us as people that breathe air on this earth.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
If you breathe, drive EV. There's a bumper sticker.
If you want to breathe, yeah. It's something that is going to benefit us all, whether or not you're part of the EV movement. you certainly would like your kids to have cleaner air. And I don't think anyone would say, no, throw me the dirt and grime. That's what I want. So it's something that everybody wins if we get to an adoption point of 50%. And of course, if we get close to the 50%, even approaching it 40, 30%, as we're moving up that ladder, as we've seen in other countries, as Casey mentioned, Norway being one of them, it was the end of last year, they reached a 90% threshold of new vehicles purchased were EV based. So that is
Norway moved theirs up twice. They originally were 2035, 2040, like the rest of the world. And they said, all right, let's move it up 5 years. And then by the time they got to 2030, like Mark said, they realized they were already at 90%. They said, all right, let's move it up to 2025. It's done.
Yeah. And the other thing is that I hear the naysayers out there that, I'll never buy an EV. It's not for me. They don't operate properly in the cold. I drive too many miles with a trailer. I have bad experience with EVs. I really don't have the ability to charge anywhere. Like, there are going to be naysayers. There are going to be people that the EV model does not fit. But if Norway can do it in their climate, I don't think any of us in North America can complain that climate is going to be the issue. Yes, we're going to have issues with charging infrastructure. There are going to be problems, and there are problems currently with multi-tenant dwellings and how people charge for that particular instance. Just last week, we talked about a group called Cool Street that's trying to come up with a better way of on-street charging for EVs. So there is some innovation that will be required, and we will continue to talk about that in future days, months, and years, I'm sure. But if we can move to that 20, 30, 40, 50%, those solutions will come because more and more people will be working on the problems. More and more innovation will happen because all the companies will see we are moving to a fully electrified future. And there is room for our company to get involved to fix problem A or problem B or problem C. And that's going to bring more minds and more might to bear on these issues and be able to solve them. So I have no doubt that once we commit to this, that the solutions will come to whatever problems exist, problems we know happen today and problems we don't even know that are coming for us. I think that with the movement of everyone going towards those goals, the solutions will come with them as well.
I mean, look at it this way. This continent, we are R&D heavy. Look at all the stuff we've done in the past. Look at the stuff we've done to date. It's only going to get better once all of a sudden you have that many more people who are going to need these batteries, this technology, these chargers, the infrastructure. Because not only are we builders and innovators, we're also we like to chase the dollars. So if you build it, they'll come sort of situation is going to happen there. And I think you'll be surprised if you're sitting there thinking it's not going to happen. It's impossible. Oh, the grid can't handle it. Oh, what if it snows like Chicago that one time where it was just the perfect storm of all the bad stuff happening at one time, even though there was no corresponding problem in Norway, which was colder. We'll be fine, and it's actually going to get better. And then used cars will be available to folks who can't do new cars or don't do new cars. And then when those cars are done, now we have pre-mined materials to just refine back into something new rather than having to get the virgin materials.
Yeah, very good point. Once we get to a level like 50%, all of that stuff just falls into place because now there is a robust used market. There is a robust supply of stuff going in for recycling, which allows the battery recycling companies to have stock. And then that allows them to sell into the battery maker market with a significant amount of material instead of just, we can supply you with 2% of your stuff. So, and this, look, you talked about multi-dwelling. If you have a condo building, that does not have any EV charging or doesn't even allow you to use the 120 volt outlets in that they might have, versus a new one that has EVSEs at 80% of the spots, and tenants can have dedicated spots where they can charge. And if people are buying EVs, if half the people in the world are buying EVs, they're going to want to go to the condo that has EV charging. And all of a sudden, this other one's going to be like, hey, how come no one's renting from us? And they're going to figure it out, and they're going to change, or they're going to die. One or the other.
They're asking me for discounts. This is a beautiful home. It's missing the EV charger.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the free market correcting itself, right? Because you've got people that are looking to rent or purchase, and if the options don't exist that they want, they're going to look someplace else. So
Exactly.
it's going to come back to that landlord or owner of the actual properties at some point, if they don't choose to move with the times. And as Patrick mentioned, certainly that 50% point more than gets the market behind it.
Absolutely.
I would say that once you get to 30%, I think you're there.
Yes.
But that's an uneducated guess.
Once you hit the tipping point, things change pretty quickly. I mean, that's why it's a hockey curve, right? Because
It is a hockey curve.
Things start going real fast after the elbow.
It's not a hockey curve. It's a hockey stick curve.
Correct. Thank you. I love
just thought I'd inject a little Canadianism into the conversation.
I'm not going to argue about hockey with a Canadian. I'm not stupid. Hockey day.
A good example. In the past, it's not going to match perfectly, but look at how quickly this continent was overtaken by indoor air conditioning. From window units to central air to other systems that we have of mechanical cooling, and the EV adoption and EV home charging will look like that. There were places that didn't have any air conditioning, and then as the cities got warmer year after year, the places that didn't have air conditioning and the owner was against it, they went out of business, and the same building was there. New owner put in central air, and boom, new clients.
Right. Yeah, we have a robust electricity grid, so adding EV charging on top of that is not that hard. Now, if that was not the case, if this was 1905, there would be a whole different story.
Exactly. So we will keep our eye on this next year. I'm sure there'll be an updated chart for us to continue to track this. But it'll be interesting to see how close we get to those 2030 values and how quickly that percentage gets there. But with that, I think we will wrap it for today. Thank everyone for viewing. If you haven't already, please give us a thumbs up on the video. Press that subscribe button. Helps us out immensely. It doesn't cost you anything. And if you'd like, you can also catch us on Monday for another Tesla Life Express. And of course, our live show also happens the following Wednesday. But any shout outs from you, Casey?
Well, you did half of mine. So catch me on Sunday on Let's Chat with Casey and Friends over at youtube.com/Casey Green. And as Mark said, we'll catch you on future shows. And I really forward to seeing you.
Casey, what time is your show on Sunday?
It's at 1:10 p.m. Eastern is the schedule, and then we'll see what the baby does to that schedule. We're usually
Very good.
To it.
Patrick, any shout outs from you?
Sure. I am with the Oregon Electric Vehicle Association. You can find us at oeva.org, and I blog occasionally at carswithcords.net about my future free from fossil fuels. Thank you.
Got it. Thanks, everyone. Enjoy your evening. We'll see you later on the Tesla Life.
Bye.